Did you hear? Hillary's running again. I'll tell you who'll never run again. Children in Somalia, Pakistan and the Yemen and other territories bombed and droned in wars that she has sanctioned. Hello there, you 6.3 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage towards truth and freedom. Let us awaken the light within us and acknowledge that within ourselves we can make changes that will contribute to global and systemic change, if only we'll commit to it. Today we have a fantastic story for you. Hillary Clinton is going to be teaching at Columbia University or something like that, and they are promoting this new business venture piece of propaganda with a delightful youth-oriented piece of content that, when you watch it, is appalling, derisory, insulting, excludes many of the most important things about Hillary Clinton, and therefore becomes a kind of living symbol of the problems of the way we present information and appreciate reality today. We exclude vital and valuable data when appraising reality. To put it into the language of the campaign itself, it says Hillary Clinton will join Columbia University as a professor and a presidential fellow in global affairs. One of the things that offends me most, and I'm sure will offend you too, is the patronising and insulting tone of the propaganda that promotes this initiative. Get ready to cringe yourself into another dimension.
Oh my God.
What is it?
It's Hillary Clinton. She's running.
What?
Not much happened yet, and I'm already offended. I'm offended by the scenario. I'm offended by the easy casualness of the setup. I'm offended by the enthusiasm, the vacuity, the obvious motivation of the entire piece, the mimicking of casual performance and behaviour. In a way, it's the same offence I feel when I hear Joe Biden talking about his family connection to cancer while simultaneously doing nothing to prevent pharmaceutical companies overcharging people suffering from cancer. Is that the rhetoric and the reality we're presented with has nothing to do with the experience of reality, nor the kind of decisions that these people actually make when they are in a position to implement policy and change legislation. This isn't like the casual hypocrisies that all of us are guilty of in life. We know we could do better, we're trying our hardest, and yet we still fail. We're talking about participating in systemic corruption and hypocrisy, war, the death of children. By my evaluation, these are the very worst of crimes that a human being can participate in. Who knows how many children have been droned? Who knows what the accumulative results of policies that Clinton has participated in are? When you watch this, you're invited to think of Hillary Clinton as nothing more than a woman who has fought against the odds in a patriarchal and misogynistic world, and that's sort of part of the truth, but it's such a sort of small part of the truth that has to be negligible and irrelevant, and to promote it in this way is propagandist.
What? Hillary's running again?
I know, I heard that's so crazy.
When you say what, could you put your hand up to your head as if Hillary Clinton running again is something that's going to make a positive impact on your life and is something you care about?
What?
What? No, do it as if you're actually connected to it. Do it as if, like, the things that you do are connected to the things that you mean. But I thought this was about Hillary Clinton, and having a connection between what you say and what you do is irrelevant. Stick with your performance.
This is wild. She's running again.
Then, of course, there's the little run itself, where we're subject to the sight of Hillary Clinton's little kicky boots running down a corridor, and we're meant to be excited by this. We're meant to be encouraged by this. Is it meant to be gently amusing? Is it meant to be whimsical? Is it meant to be the framing of Hillary Clinton as an elder statesperson of a neoliberal establishment that we're supposed to revere and adore? That we're supposed to look at Hillary Clinton and George W. Bush and Tony Blair, all people who, by some folks' reckoning, are actual war criminals, in the same way that Vladimir Putin is. And as you know, the American government couldn't provide the ICC with information about Vladimir Putin's war crimes because it would indict them of the same war crimes. Even though Vladimir Putin and Russia's list of war crimes in Ukraine are long and frankly appalling to read, the bigger problem is that America are guilty of all of those war crimes as well. And politicians like Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and George W. Bush and Tony Blair, while they present themselves as friendly, affable and amenable PR-friendly characters, they actually participate in systemic violence and war and corruption to such a degree that that's how they should be evaluated, as symbols of death and criminality.
Here I am.
Hillary, you're running again.
Well, I sure am, Karen. I just got here early for the new class we're teaching together on foreign policy decision making.
In case you thought that no more irony could be laden upon this issue, the subject that Hillary Clinton's going to be talking about is foreign policy making. Now, this is an area where Hillary Clinton has been particularly effective if the results you crave are dead people, dead children, sales of arms to corrupt regimes, facilitating the military-industrial complex's ability to lobby for unnecessary conflict. The reason that this is a fascinating piece of content rather than an innocuous piece of PR is because the reality we're invited to participate in is so distinct and discrete from the reality that most people live in, and some people have suffered directly as a result of, that it's actually laughable.
Classes don't start until September.
Yeah, but I wanted to be prepared, Karen. You know, when it comes to crisis situations, you've always got to be prepared.
Prepared? I think you're more prepared than anyone to teach this course.
I feel like it's our obligation, do you, to point out that what this is a veneer laying upon a rather unpleasant reality, and that this is the level of critical theory that ought to be applied to artifacts that seek to rehabilitate, not even rehabilitate, because never has Hillary Clinton been meaningfully evaluated. The only thing you really hear about Hillary Clinton are, I would say, reflexive and somewhat misogynistic damning of her in some places, and then the sort of unnecessary celebration and reification of her as if she's a sort of a symbol of progress in some way. The fact is that the type of symbols of progress that are afforded are the types of symbols of progress that do not interrupt systemic corruption. And that corruption is not just financial, it's genocidal.
And I'll cover what it was actually like in the room during the bin Laden raid, the Iran sanctions, the Gaza ceasefire, you name it.
Okay, but are you ready for whatever questions the students throw at you?
Bring it on.
Miss, I've got a question. As a supporter of the war in Iraq, what were some of your main achievements? Would you say, was it the ongoing escalating wars, greenlighting coups, and generally maintaining and expanding US power around the globe? Were you particularly pleased when ISIS came into being? Would you say that you were generally more or less militarily aggressive than your Republican counterparts? On most foreign policy decisions, including Libya, Clinton was in favour of equally aggressive action, if not more aggressive action, than former Bush appointee Robert Gates. If Hillary Clinton's still in the class, not darting down the corridor in her kicky boots, here's another inquiry. How did you package your hawkish policies publicly? Clinton and Obama got away with hawkish policies because they stuck to the language of humanitarian intervention and liberation. Clinton helped assert the right of the US government to intervene in any country of its choosing, using the most brutal means possible to achieve its ends. Question: having a child yourself, what was your policy on drones? The answer, of course, is Clinton was an enthusiastic supporter of Obama's decision to step up the use of drone warfare in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. Clinton and the Obama administration sold the drone program as a precise and effective way to target terrorists with fewer risks of collateral damage. However, during one 5-month period of an operation, 90% of the people killed in airstrikes were not the intended targets. I suppose that this isn't, at this point, a personal attack on Hillary Clinton, rather a critique on the aesthetic of neoliberalism as presenting us with these human artifacts of progression like Barack Obama and the success that a non-white president should represent, or Hillary Clinton's rise as a female in a traditionally male space. These ciphers are used to mask the fact that for many people things are getting a lot worse, that brutality and violence continue to be the tools of global oppression and of domestic repression. And the issue of drones and droning is a significant one because we are sold the idea that drones are bespoke and particular and frictionless weapons of death that are only ever used against terrorists, and it's simply not true. It shows you that the reality we're presented with is nothing like the reality that we live within. So while on one hand this is an innocuous piece of propaganda for what I'm sure is a delightful Ivy League school, it is also one of the tools of ongoing propaganda that prevent us appraising reality correctly. Hillary, before you go, what was your relationship with the military-industrial complex? As Secretary of State, Clinton made it her business to make sure the world was open for US business, from securing defense contracts for Lockheed Martin to brokering deals to build nuclear power plants for Westinghouse. Clinton and her ambassador CEOs traveled the globe to bring foreign governments and US companies together. We have to position ourselves to lead in a world where security is shaped in boardrooms and on trading floors as well as on battlefields, Clinton said. Hillary, one last question though before you wear through those delightful little Cuban heels. Surely you didn't take donations from military contractors though. American military contractors and their affiliates who donated to the Clinton Foundation were awarded some $163 billion worth of arms deals authorized by the Clinton State Department. And governments seeking to buy arms got the same preferential treatment if they sent money the foundation's way, no matter what their human rights record. Clinton's department authorized $151 billion in Pentagon brokered deals for 16 of the countries that gave to the Clinton Foundation. While this is a video that presents Hillary Clinton as an affable, progressive voice of feminism and the progress of our culture, in a way, Hillary represents another set of values entirely. The ability of the military-industrial complex to provoke and participate in sometimes illegal foreign activity, the masking of the facts, the concealing of the consequences of American foreign policy, and a type of politics, really, that if we continue to pursue, as evidently we will be doing because another generation are being trained to think in exactly the same way, could bring us to the precipice and indeed the inaction of global Armageddon. Much of our focus has been upon the lessons that we are not learning, the lessons of the crimes committed on behalf of the neoliberal establishment, of which Hillary Clinton is undoubtedly a key figure. But look at the false and erroneous lessons that were simultaneously being taught. In addition to teaching, she's literally teaching, Clinton will collaborate with senior faculty on global policy initiatives and ways to boost effective engagement with young people and women. That means these ideas are being perpetuated. These ideas and this mentality isn't going to change anytime soon. It's not like, in spite of all the crises that we're continually discussing in the world, that this is a point of revision, some kind of reckoning. It's business as usual. Another generation of people will be sent out into the world from an Ivy League school into the kind of institutions where often these people end up working, perpetuating the same kind of ideas, the same kind of mentality, so that the machine keeps on turning. There is no reckoning. There's no point where people are saying, do you know what, should we do things differently now? Should we start being authentic? Should we start looking realistically at what the consequences of some of the decisions we've made in the past are? It's a perpetuation of all of the ideas that Hillary Clinton stands for, rather than just the rehabilitation of a figure that ought to be, in my view, evaluated very differently.
Now, if you'll excuse me, Karen, I've got to run.
Where's she going now? Hopefully to Yemen with a letter of apology. Also, Hillary Clinton, in addition to teaching at Columbia University, still very much participates in the ongoing geopolitical conversation. Here are some of her thoughts on Ukraine.
The Ukrainian war has been one thing that's brought Democrats and Republicans together for the most part.
It is a war for our values. We're not doing it just because it's the right thing to do, although it is. We're doing it because we have to draw this line and make it very clear that in 2023, this kind of aggression cannot stand.
Yemen, Syria. I suppose the rhetoric has become so divorced from reality that you almost cannot take it seriously. Hillary Clinton still participates in the conversation around global politics in ways that I consider to be irresponsible. How can you not advocate for diplomacy and peace? How can you not acknowledge that you have deep, intrinsic and financially beneficial relationships with the military-industrial complex while being on, oh look, MSNBC, advocating for ongoing war?
And now we look to what's happening in Ukraine and all these things we talk about growing up that we learn to suddenly the Ukrainians are fighting for what we've always said we were supposed to stand for. How inspiring is that to you?
It's so inspiring to me.
This is like a person who said, it's time for the United States to start thinking of Iraq as a business opportunity. At worst, Hillary Clinton should, on Morning Joe, be saying, listen, I know in the past I said crazy stuff like Iraq should be viewed as a business opportunity. I know I've participated in the droning of loads of Middle Eastern countries. I know that the Clinton Foundation accepts money from the military-industrial complex. But aside from all of that, I actually have got quite strong views on how brave Ukrainian people are. I think Ukrainian people are brave. I think it's terrible that they're being bombed. I think Russia's actions are appalling. I also think that Hillary Clinton shouldn't be allowed in this conversation.
We have to continue, and I would even argue increase the military support that we give to the Ukrainians sooner.
Yeah, increase it actually. Why don't we kill some more people and make some more money? And if those two things align, all the better.
F-16s?
Well, it includes air cover, it includes long-range missiles.
What about time she was running down that corridor and everything was light and fun, I'm running. Where are you running? I'm running to advocate for long-range missiles to bomb Russian people. And again, I know what the counter-argument is. Oh, well, you think Putin's just going to roll over? Listen, there was a peace deal on the table. That's been revealed. Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the UK, disrupted it. I am afraid that while I'm not cynical about humanity in general, I am cynical about the neoliberal establishment, its appointed elders, and the ongoing attempts to present them as sort of like benevolent maiden aunts of the war machine. There she was, selling war. The quote, "It's time for the United States to start thinking of Iraq as a business opportunity," was included in an email released by the State Department that specifically mentioned JP Morgan and ExxonMobil. JP Morgan was selected by the US government to run a key import-export bank in Iraq, and in 2013 announced plans to expand its operations in the country. ExxonMobil signed a deal to redevelop Iraqi oil fields. JP Morgan has collectively paid the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation at least $450,000 for speeches, and ExxonMobil has donated over $1 million to the family's foundation. In a sense, there is no point condemning Hillary Clinton on the level of humanity, on the level of the individual. She is a product of her time and the institutions through which she has passed, as surely as we all are in one way or another. But we do have an obligation to critique and identify propaganda when we see it. The attempt to instantiate a class of elders that continue to advocate for war and present it as some sort of progressive and inclusive agenda is not progressive for Somalian children. It's not progressive for the people of Iraq. It's not progressive for the Yemeni people affected by the kind of deals that Hillary Clinton has participated in. And I don't think it's progressive even for the young people being educated at Columbia, because they're being sold a lie that's destroying the world that they live in. No one benefits from this except possibly Hillary Clinton. Hey, but that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments in the chat. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Turn on the notification bell right now and join us every day on Rumble, where we broadcast live. More important than any of that is that you please stay free.